All right. Great to be with you, Steve.
You too, man.
I am
You're not behind glass.
Yes, that's because we're in phase 2.
Phase 2 is here.
And I just want to say, even though we're in phase 2, and we've said this throughout the time, the church has not stopped meeting. For those of you guys who like to read, Pastor Doug actually put together an article about how, in this season, we're still very much the church. And in some ways, in some functions, not completely, I mean, they didn't have cameras and stuff, but in some ways, we actually look a lot more like the New Testament church in some functions than we've ever been able to in our scattered homes and stuff like that. And so gospel is advancing. People are becoming Christians. Discipleship is happening. Communion and the sacraments are being celebrated, and so that's the church. That's what we get to do. Yeah. And so, Steve, tell us a little about phase 2. What that means for us.
And I'm going to try to. There's a lot of details, and you can see all of this on the website. And so, if you have more questions, we'll be updating the frequently asked questions as well there, because I'm sure you will have questions, even just as we have questions with each phase, saying how does this look and how should it look. For those of you that didn't tune in earlier, we started at phase 0. Everything online, nothing in person. We moved to phase 1 a few weeks ago, and phase 1 really allowed for smaller groups, communities, really our community groups that meet throughout the area to begin to meet in person. And so we've, for those that are comfortable doing that, and we've heard some great stories of communities that were able to finish the community season together, which is awesome. And so some of those things continue into phase 2. As we move to this next stage of reopening facilities and re-emerging from this COVID crisis. And so this is kind of what it looks like. And again, lots of questions are answered on the site as well. The first thing is that we are going to be opening up 2 of our campuses, Ringwood and Glen Rock, for what we're calling watch and worship gatherings. And we're going to continue to encourage people, if you are comfortable, if you want to, if you have a community of people that you're close with, maybe it's some family members, maybe it's your community group, maybe other friends you invite in, to join together in your own homes or even outside in your backyard. I've seen that happen as well, for Sunday gatherings, these micro gatherings that we're calling them. And those are awesome. Again, like you said, it's so much of what many people in the church have experienced throughout history. And you've been doing it in your own We've
home.
Been doing
You've
it.
Opened it up. Yeah. I've shared with you guys, there's people in my life who are compromised a bit, so I have not done that, but I miss it. I would do it in a heartbeat if that wasn't the case. But I know it's been a great experience for you.
It's been, honestly, it is one of the highlights of my week, if not the highlight, just to gather with a group of other people that we know and love, and to be able to not only hear about, but then talk about the one that we know and love, who loves us better than we could ever know. So it's been great to do that. So in fact, if you're hearing about these watch and worship gatherings we're about to talk about in a second, and you have a community that's meeting at your home, I think it's probably even preferred that you continue to cultivate that community in your home, if you're comfortable. And again, this is, there's no pressure. For some of you have situations like Ryan's, or you're just personally not comfortable yet doing that, and that is totally fine. All of our resources are online. They're all still digital. You can go onto the service there. But if you're not part of a community that's meeting, or maybe your community isn't gathering, or maybe you're not opening your home or joining another, we are opening Ringwood and Glen Rock for these watch and worship gatherings. 10 a.m. starting on the 28th of June. So really a couple Sundays from now. At 10 a.m., one opportunity, because we can't have multiple opportunities. We need time to clean and make sure everything is safe. When you show up, and you have to register to show up. You can't come if you're not registered. So there'll be a link here on the website with those details, but you can register to be a part of it. We have to limit it because of the restrictions right now. We have to limit it to 45 people. We also have a handful of people who are there helping to facilitate it. So it'll be limited to 45. Masks are required. One of the things that they've seen is, as they've looked at some of these stats on the virus being able to spread, is that areas where people are singing together increases the likelihood. And so for that reason, and just for the safety of everyone and following guidelines, masks will be required for every moment that you're in the building for everyone in attendance. we ask that if you have kids in your family who are younger than middle school, at a middle school age, typically they can sit and be able to, listen and participate. You know your own kids better than anybody else does. Some of mine can, some of them can't.
Mine probably did better before middle school.
But if they are the type that can join with you and sit and participate, we're actually going to be viewing the digital service at those campuses. And so for those that are really hungry to just be around other people and worship Jesus together, you can begin to do that on a limited basis. We will have temperature checks. There will be distancing in the seats. And we do ask that if you don't typically go to those campuses, that you leave those spots open for people that are typically a part of that community. So if you normally go to Totowa, we ask you wouldn't go to Ringwood or to Glen Rock to those gatherings, just so the people who are part of that community can.
And like you said, the ideal anyway is that you have some friends or a community group, whatever you're comfortable with in your homes, and leave that for an option for folks who might not have that.
Yeah. And so they'll be gathering at 10 a.m. starting the 28th in those two campuses. And you might say, well, why not Totowa? One of the reasons that we're not having it in Totowa is because we have other things that will be happening in Totowa. One of those exciting things is something we do every summer called Summer Sessions. And beginning on July 13th, we're actually going to have twice a week. We're going to do summer sessions that are not only live in Totowa, and you can sign up to be a part of that. Again, limited, same restrictions that we have at the Watch and Worship gatherings. You can sign up to be a part of the summer sessions in Totowa, but it's also going to be streamed live on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And so, and there are two different summer sessions. There's one on Monday nights, 7:30 p.m., and again, live online. You can be a part of it here. That's on discernment in all areas of life, or many areas of life. Going to be led by a great group of teachers. Awesome thing that Pastor Doug and his team have been working on within our discipleship ministry. And then on Wednesday, Doug is going to be walking through the letters of Paul, part 2. He did this last year on part 1, and it's going to continue in part 2. So Wednesday nights at 7:30, you'll be able to view those as well as be a part of it here if you so choose to do that. So that's going to be going on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays we have R&R as we usually do. That'll be all online right now. And then the rest of our digital resources are getting a little bit of a revamp. And so rather than releasing every single week Mental Health Monday and Worship Wednesday and Theology Thursday and Free for All Friday and Saturday Pray, we are going to put those on a rotation. And so once a week, we're going to be releasing one of those resources. And it'll be in a month-long rotation. It'll rotate between some mental health ministry, some theology ministry, between our prayer session, which we're going to do monthly as well as our free-for-all interviews that we have with other leaders. Right. And so those will happen once a month. And our devotionals, though, will continue daily. Oh, cool. So that will continue each morning, Monday through Friday. So I know it's a lot, and it's a lot to take in. We continue to look at what are the right and best options, given the wisdom that we're learning from others who are going before us and alongside us, as well as the restrictions and guidelines put in place for your safety, for all of our safety as well, and pursuing Jesus. So
yeah, and I mean, just studying through Proverbs, one of the Proverbs that's been really encouraging for me in this time was, if you faint in the day of adversity, how small is your strength? And, we've said from the beginning, we don't know. Our hope is it's like the dimmer. We just keep turning it up. We might have to turn it back. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But we get to choose to be faithful. We've tried to say over and over in this season, let's make the best of this season. Let's not faint. Let's not grow weary. Let's not just be looking towards the future when everything goes back to normal. Let's say for some reason, God in his infinite wisdom has allowed us to minister in this season. And let's do the best we can with it. Let's embrace it. And then, we're going to continue to film midweek and produce. That takes a ton of time, and to produce all that we have to produce. And sometimes that's been frustrating as we've been missed some current events as they happen in the weekend. Yep. There's times we felt grieved. We would have loved to pray about what was happening in the world. But our hope is just to say, God, you have us here in this season. You knew it before time began. You allow us to serve in this. And so we're just excited about looking back on this one day and saying, you know what? God used this as a sweet time in our church. We didn't faint. We didn't grow weary. And we just kept being faithful with the opportunity we had.
Yeah. Phase 3 and Phase 4, by God's grace, we'll get there. But for right now, where we are, there are definitely some things I'm excited about, things that we can look forward to together. And there is still ground that Jesus is taking for the kingdom here. We see it in relationships in our neighborhood. We see it through new ways that God has opened doors for people to hear the gospel. And so here we are in phase 2, and look forward to seeing how God might use that in a fruitful way.
Cool.